Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you are. I am in Eswatini and in the suburb of Izolweni. So this is my second time that I'm back in Eswatini. Okay, as usual, I'm going to have my book, my notes that I'm going to have to refer to. And then also on this side, I have some more notes because everything I have to do today, I'm going to have to read, unfortunately. But please bear with me. I hope everyone is doing well in these crazy times. Okay, so first of all, I want to say thank you to my 2,000 subscribers. And when I say 2,000, I mean you have 2,000. So what you do is you take away 2 of the zeros, and that's how many subscribers I have. I guess my content is not riveting. Maybe I should take my clothes off. Okay, anyway, as you know, my channel is not about taking your clothes off, etc. It's about things that matter. Not that taking your clothes off doesn't matter, but in this context, we are not taking off clothes. Okay. Second thing is I also want to thank those people who comment on my videos, especially if the comment is constructive, whether it's negative, positive, against what I believe, for what I believe, it doesn't matter. This is the whole thing. I want discussion. I want dialogue. I wish more people would comment. Okay? So also thanks to those people who comment. And then also I want to thank those who thumbs up my videos, or who thumbs down my video. It doesn't matter. A thumbs up or a thumbs down means there's traffic. I know some people don't even watch, they just thumbs up. Some people don't even watch, they just thumbs down. It doesn't matter. I still thank you because at least you clicked. You made an effort to do this. Or depending on how you do it. Okay, so thank you so much. But I also want to say no thank you to those people who private message me, or even sometimes in the comments, because those comments I just delete, when they talk about my appearance. Because my videos are not about my appearance, they are about the content, about the subject and the topic. Okay, because if I wanted to make a video where you have to comment on my appearance, I would make such a video, right? But I'm not making those kind of videos. My videos is about the content. Okay, so I would appreciate it if you would just comment on the content and not on my looks. Okay, so thanks, but no thanks. I also want to put a disclaimer out for today's video, and the disclaimer is that I am not a doctor. Note well. So whatever I'm saying here is not to encourage or discourage people from making decisions about their personal health. All I am doing, what I want to do is to give you my opinion on some things that I see and what I think about those things, or things that I see and whether they are factual or not. That's all. Okay? So I think the disclaimer is out there, so I can continue. So the first thing I want to talk about is, because I also have a Twitter account. You can go follow me there if you want. Well, you're not even following me here, so I don't see why you would want to follow me on Twitter. But anyway, another topic for another day. So there was 2 doctors that I picked out when I was on Twitter, because I follow Dr. Robert Malone, for those who don't know him. Hello? If you don't know him, you better get your act together and start knowing who this man is, okay? Dr. Robert Malone. Go and look him up. Anyway, I follow him. And in the comments, there were 2 doctors that made these remarks. The first one is, but I will also put up the screenshot. Dr. Rochelle Walensky. She's a MD, MPH. So she says, protect yourself from reinfection. Even if you already had COVID-19, you need to get vaccinated to protect yourself from possibly getting it again. So when I read that, it's like, maybe English is not her first language. It's not my first language either, but I think my English is probably a little bit better because she's a doctor and she says, protect yourself from reinfection. Makes sense. Because what she means here and what I understand is that if you already had COVID, you still have to protect yourself to avoid getting reinfected. She's right. It's here where it goes all haywire. Sorry if you hear a lot of noise, but there's some fishy thing going on outside. It's like an earthquake. Okay, it stopped. Anyway, okay, so I continue. So even if you already had COVID-19, you need to get vaccinated to protect yourself from possibly getting it again. Wrong on so many levels. Because, yes, even if you already had COVID-19, you must protect yourself because you will you can get reinfected. This is a given. Because by now the data is in that natural immunity does not seem to work with COVID. But it's because there's a lot of new variants. Okay? So, okay. But she says, even if you already had COVID-19, you need to get vaccinated to protect yourself. Now, you do not get vaccinated to protect yourself from possibly getting it again. Because we already know the data is in. The CDC has already released the data that the vaccines do not protect you from getting infected or from transmitting COVID. It does not. There is no natural immunity, and the vaccines cannot protect you from getting infected. Even if you had COVID before, you don't have natural immunity. Even if you are vaccinated, you still are not protected against getting the virus, the disease. Well, the virus and the disease. Okay? Is everybody on track? Everyone's with me? Because she's not with. This is a doctor, okay? The only way you can protect yourself from getting COVID is by not breathing in or letting the virus go into your orifices, especially the respiratory tract. So it must not go through your nose and your mouth. That's why you're not supposed to touch your face. And that's why you're supposed to wear a mask. And that's why you're supposed to social distance. And that's why you're supposed to sanitize. The vaccine does not protect you from getting infected. Let's get that straight. What the vaccine does, which is a very good thing, and I'm here for that, is that it reduces disease severity. That's what it does. So big difference from getting infected and transmitting and reducing disease severity. Also take note of the word, it reduces. It does not eliminate. So you can still get quite ill if you get the disease, and you can still die even if you've been vaccinated. And I know this because I know people personally who got vaccinated and died, and that is why I am concerned about this matter, because I know that the vaccine does not eliminate disease severity, but it does reduce disease severity. And I also know that it does do that it does reduce disease severity, because I personally know people who should have died because they have all the at least 4 underlying medical issues, and they survived because they were vaccinated. Okay? So this is where she's wrong. The other doctor is Dr. Comilla. She just says Dr. Comilla. She doesn't say the MD whatever. Okay? This is what she says. She says, we have seen this all throughout the US on the front lines and in the emergency department. The best, most reliable form of protection is the COVID vaccine. Do not risk reinfection. Just because you had COVID doesn't mean you can't get it again. So again, she says the best, most reliable form of protection is the COVID vaccine. Now, if she was saying, because I know the thread was about people who think they have natural immunity. That means people who already had COVID and they feel they won't ever get it again. But that is not a protection. You can still get it, okay? So when she says the best, most reliable form of protection, that means protection against reinfection, is the COVID vaccine. That's just wrong. Because like I said before, and not just me, like what the CDC and everybody else, all the scientists have said, and that the data has proven, is that the vaccines, even if you're vaccinated, you can still transmit and you can still get infected. Okay? So she's wrong when she says the best protection is COVID-19. Then she says, do not risk infection. Just because you had COVID, meaning just because you already had COVID, doesn't mean you can't get it again. True. So can you see where the two of them are wrong? They are right in saying that even if you had COVID, you do not have natural immunity, so you will still get it again. If you get in, you can still get infected, and which means you can still spread it, right? That's right. But when they say only the vaccine can protect you against reinfection, they are wrong, because the vaccine does not protect you against reinfection or transmission. It reduces disease severity, and the important word to note in that sentence is reduces, not eliminates. Okay? So that's number one. The next thing I want to talk about is this thing that has been going on now between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. Because the vaccinated feel that they are the superior beings, and they feel that the unvaccinated are the demons. And on the other hand, the unvaccinated ones think that they are superior and that the vaccinated ones are stupid. So there's this thing going on. But how do we meet in the middle? So how we meet in the middle is like this. And this I wrote already on my Facebook page. So I'm just going to read it and then explain. Oh, before I explain. Also, especially the vaccinated people, because one of the arguments they like to make is that, okay, wait, let me start with the unvaccinated people. The unvaccinated people, the argument that they like to make is that the vaccine is still under experiment. True. Okay? So if you are getting vaccinated, that means you are a guinea pig. If it's based on that, true. And the unvaccinated are not part of the experiment. Okay, this is what they say. And then the vaccinated group will say, you too are part of the experiment because you are the controlled group, which can also be true because in any study, there has to be a control group. There's the treatment group, and then there's the control group. Okay? So normally the treatment group, they'll get the treatment, like which in this case is they'll get the vaccine, and then the control group, that means they don't get anything or they get a placebo. But let me explain. So what I did is I shared on my Facebook page, and I will also share the document down here. It is, oh my goodness, I didn't like a copy of that. I didn't do a picture of that, but it's about the ethical and law regarding research studies. Okay, so it will state what is ethical and what is lawful when you are conducting an experiment or research study. Okay, right. So in the article I pulled out an excerpt, and this is what it said. It said, sometimes researchers disagree about whom to include in vaccine trials. To properly test a vaccine's effectiveness, a clinical trial, including a control group that does not get the test vaccine, is usually necessary, which is what I explained earlier on, right? So there has to be the control group in order to also to render the whatever conclusion they come to render that conclusion valid. So I continue. This is what I wrote. So according to this year meaning, I'll link the article, you can read the article. Well, not the article, but you can read the laws and the protocol for research studies. So according to this year, the COVID-19 vaccines are still experimental because none have been licensed as yet. And according to this document, and also something that most of us already know, is that it takes years to complete a study. This is a known fact. You can look at any vaccine that has ever been developed. It takes years. Not a year, it takes years to complete a study. We know this because this is not the first time that a vaccine has ever been developed. Even if one gets licensed in the next few months, which in my opinion, if it does, I don't think it's got anything to do with how good it is. It's got to do with, you didn't hear it from me. Okay, so even if one gets licensed in the next few months, it does not mean it is safe, effective, because the long-term data would not have been collected, obviously, because long-term means over many years, right? So, okay, I think that you all understand that. We also already have the data that proves none of the COVID-19 vaccines are effective in granting immunity from the disease, right? You don't get immunity. Unlike, for example, the efficacy of the yellow fever vaccine that grants immunity within 10 days after inoculation and generally lasts a lifetime. Okay, so I'll also link the yellow fever information down here. Yeah, but this we know that the vaccines, it doesn't mean because you have a vaccine you are immune. We know it's not, because you can still get infected, you can still transmit the disease. And so this vaccine is, you can see it's still experimental because they've not figured this out yet. How? Because this is why you get a vaccine. A vaccine is supposed to grant immunity. Even if it's 80%, but at least it has to. And it has to be, they don't even know for how long, even if it does give immunity, let's say 80% immunity. At this point, it looks like some of them only can grant 6 months, some 3 months. They're not even sure which is which is normal because it's an experiment. This is to be expected. That's how experiments are conducted. And like I told one friend, this I learned when I was in standard 7, which means I was 14 years old. We learned this in science. Okay, so it's not a big deal or biggie. We know. It takes time to collect data, especially long-term data, and it takes time to develop a vaccine. It's not like you're baking a cake. It's very serious. Okay, and you see like the yellow fever vaccination, if I'm not mistaken, I think they already started in 1912, starting to develop it. And I think only by about 1938, I could be wrong, something like that. Then it was only like, okay, not even seriously okay, just like okay. But I've had the yellow fever vaccine because I travel a lot. And when I was coming to Africa, I had to get it. And normally, they also told me within 10 days, you will have immunity. And they also told me it's generally lasts a lifetime, but what they do is after 10 years, they like you to come in for a booster. But even if you don't, it doesn't matter. It's just up to you. Okay? Right. Now, since this is still experimental, it means that those who received the vaccination are a part of the experiment because you signed on the dotted line, right? When you went for the vaccination, I'm sure, I don't know, I'm just guessing because this is how it should be. There's a form that they will give you, and then you have to sign the form to say that you are allowing them to inoculate you, right? I just know this from all the other vaccinations I've had before that I had to sign. And then it will also give you tell you all the side effects and how long it lasts, all the information, right? So that means in this case, because it's still an experiment, if you sign the document, it means you have signed on as part of the experiment. In this case, you're part of the treatment because you're getting something. You're getting the actual thing, right? So those who have not been vaccinated, so note well, those people that keep saying, you are also part of the experiment, take note. Those who have not been vaccinated are not a part of the experiment and are not in any kind of controlled group of the study. Because before any human being can participate in an experiment, they must give written consent. Otherwise, it is an unethical study, and also it is a crime. So did we get that? Did we hear that properly? If you are unvaccinated, you are not part of the controlled group. Because I'm unvaccinated at the moment, and I know for a fact I didn't sign anywhere to say, I will not take this vaccination, and I agree to not take this vaccination. I did not sign any such document. I have not given any consent to getting vaccinated or to not getting vaccinated. None. So that means people like me, we are not in any kind of control group, because sometimes some experiments have many types of control group. We are in none of those. And if one day, because who knows, everything in the world is so topsy-turvy, they turn around and say, no, you were, that would be wrong, because then what they are doing is unethical, and it's also a crime, because if you read the document I'm going to link down here, it will state in there what is needed in order for you to use human subjects in an experiment. Okay, so let's lay that argument to rest about, oh, you are also in the control group, you're also part of the experiment. Let that one, bury that one. May it rest in peace. Okay, right. The fourth thing I want to talk about is, I don't know if this is the fourth thing, well, on here it says number 4, is the discrimination that I'm observing between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. Yeah, so it's quite an ugly thing that's going on because, you know, I grew up in South Africa under the apartheid. And for me, it's like, you know, I've been discriminated against my race or the color of my skin for so many years that, you know, to have another kind of discrimination, even if I'm in the vaccinated group, that means I am in the superior group, which means then that the unvaccinated are the inferior citizens of the society. And if they are the inferior citizens of the society, they are going to be treated as such. And I just don't think I want to live the rest of my life or for the next year, or not even the next 6 months, in a world where this kind of discrimination is legal. I don't think I want to be part of this kind of world where if I'm sitting in a restaurant eating, I have to watch other people walking outside and just looking at me because they cannot eat. They cannot come in. And then others will say, yeah, but all we need to do is get the vaccination. Yeah, but you see, everybody is not as stupid as you and I who are going to get the vaccination or who are already vaccinated, because some people, they understand how experiments work and they don't want to be a part of that experiment. And some people are also quite clever because it makes sense that to get vaccinated doesn't make sense because it does not protect you from getting infected or from transmitting the disease. Yes, it does. It does help in reducing disease severity. But you can also reduce disease severity, and you can ask any doctor who has actually treated people in the emergency room or who have treated patients with COVID. And I have friends who had COVID, and because they are fit and healthy, they are fine. They had COVID I think the person who had it the longest was 2 weeks, and they are okay. The thing is the main thing is not to get infected in the first place. That is where the importance lies. It does not lie in, oh, now I have the vaccine, so I don't care, I can just get infected because I won't die and I won't get seriously ill. No, that's not how it works. It should work like we did in pre-vaccination days, where it was, if you get infected, you're going to get sick and you might die. It should go back to that. Because is it more important that it reduces disease severity, or is it more important that we get this virus out of our systems, that it doesn't exist anymore? Which one is more important? And is it more important that to get sick and then not have serious symptoms, or is it better to just not get infected in the first place? You see, so this is where some people are like that, and I think they're quite clever. I'm not one of those clever ones. I'm going to get vaccinated, and the reason why is because I travel, which comes to my second point about this discrimination. Because I travel, there are countries that I travel to where they have visa regulation. In the visa regulations, it states that you have to be vaccinated against certain diseases. Now, this I understand because this is their country. They don't want you to come with your dirty sicknesses and bring it into their country. So here, I'm okay with that. That is why I'm getting vaccinated. I'm not getting vaccinated because I want to reduce my disease severity, or because I'm stupid enough to think that I cannot get infected or transmit it. No, I'm getting it because I travel, and if it's a visa requirement, so be it. Of course, in an ideal world, it would be great if they can get a very good vaccine within the next year, because then I'm all for it. But if not, what I will do is I'm waiting for the Novavax, because that is a plant-based vaccine. So it's not so, and even the way they work with the spike proteins, it's better for the body. It has less side effects. So I'm going to take that one. And I'm going to take it even if it says that the efficacy of it is 3%, it's okay. I'll still take it just so that I have the passport. Okay, so that's what I want to say about this discrimination thing. But so you know, as far as I'm concerned, I think this vaccine passport within a city is not a good idea, because it's going to cause a lot of problems in families, because in your family you'll have some that are vaccinated, some that are not, and then you cannot go out as a family. If you're a husband and wife, one might be vaccinated, one is not, it will cause problems in your marriage, and who knows, it might be considered a crime for the unvaccinated and the vaccinated to fraternize. And then, like we used to have in the apartheid system, where people of different races, especially non-white and white, you cannot mix together, and then it's a crime. You get arrested. Who knows? Okay, who knows? Oh, so that is, so I've covered those two together. Oh, okay, that's good. Okay, so I think that's all I wanted to say about this. It's quite a mouthful. But anyway, please subscribe if you can, and if you want, thumbs up if you like, thumbs down if you don't like, make a comment. Don't comment about my looks. I'm not interested at all, obviously. And thank you for listening.